Football fans, Gooners, welcome to another edition of the Positively Uncensored Arsenal podcast. And today I have the pleasure of a complete alter ego, doppelganger, whatever. No, your alter ego. The wonderful Byso.
Hi,
Byso,
everyone.
how are
Good
you, man?
morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching.
Right. Byso, it's good to have you flying solo today. You've never flown solo.
Oh, I've never flown solo and a little bit nervous because I cannot miss George.
Yes. Well, George wants to review us, give us his opinion. But sometimes, I have gotten so used, and somebody was telling me, you're just George, and I'm like, yeah,
Yeah, I love it.
yeah. And if you ever listened the podcast, guys, I'm always George, at the expense of my guests. So today we'll never have anything at your expense. But today, Byso, we are going to just talk about something that you and I are no experts at, really,
Yep.
when we confess. But we're going to talk about transfers in a way, because transfers is what Arsenal fans like, and transfers is going to be very important for this club going forward. But one
Absolutely.
particular transfer which caught my attention is the chase for Gabriel Jesus. And this came up long before, not long, but relatively towards the end of the season. As soon as City moved, they made their move for Haaland, with Jesus having one more year on his contract. Stories got into the media. The PR agents for the club, I don't think Arsenal officially ever confirmed that, said we were in for him, um, because we needed a striker. And to be honest, guys, we are in need of a striker. The official news from Arsenal this week, everybody should know it. Lacazette is gone. His contract is ended. He's gone and signed for Lyon, his old club. And Nketiah is not officially an Arsenal player. On the .com, they say he have been offered a contract and negotiations are underway, or words to that effect. So,
Yeah.
Byso,
Yeah.
what are you thinking on this chase? Well, let's not even get deeply. What are you thinking about our need for a striker?
I mean, absolutely, we do need a striker, right?
Mhm.
On paper, we have no one with Lacazette leaving, and Eddie also, um, on the brink of ending his contract with us. But I do believe, and I think I'm pretty much confident that Eddie will sign an extension with us. It's the easiest, I would say, it's the easiest deal to get done for both parties.
Yes.
Arsenal don't need to go into the market to look for a backup striker.
Yes.
Um, Eddie has shown that he's capable of playing in the Europa League, which for which we need a Europa League striker, and he's shown also to be a capable backup in the Premier League. So I believe that that discussion about Eddie will result in him signing an extension, and then we'll probably have Balogun come back into the club and be a backup to Eddie. So that leaves us with one big name signing that we need to go for in this summer. And when I mean big name signing, it doesn't have to be somebody who is, extremely well known, but it has to be a striker that is able to take us to a level higher than basically improve the team tremendously, you know. Be it I guess the club has decided Gabriel Jesus is that person to take us forward.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, the rumor was strong in the second half of the season that he would be on his way to Arsenal.
Mm-hmm.
And I think even recently there's been talk of him not leaving the Premier League and staying in the Premier League, but leaving Manchester City. So there
Well,
are a few of us in the running for Jesus's, I would say, signature, right? So I've seen him linked with Chelsea. It's not a strong link, but he has been linked with Chelsea. He has been heavily linked with Arsenal. I haven't seen anything about Newcastle, for example. So I think, his likely destination is going to be in London. And you never know, Arsenal could pull this off. I would be surprised if they do, not because I feel that, we can't afford Jesus or anything, but I feel like, for Jesus to go from Man City in his prime is 25, uh, and basically join a project, it will be surprising. Very few players have done that at the peak of their powers, and we'll wait and see.
But
But
you know, Byso, what struck me, and I'm going to share this with you,
uh-huh.
is that in the Daily Mail and in other publications this week, we had a lot of reports that we're about to lose out on the chase for Gabriel Jesus. You know, I think you kind of made a cautionary remark in your opening presentation, because when I went on transfer market, and I'm going to remove the graphic. When I went to transfer market, they were saying that initially he was 70%, close to 70% on to come to Arsenal. But now it would appear that his agents and his handlers are hawking him to Chelsea and Tottenham, at least. The,
Yeah.
the question, the issue here is, you and I, as international fans, have seen this game before. We have had a lot of strikers, especially during Wenger's time, being hawked around the place. What was your response? Did you ever see the article? What is your thoughts now you see the Mail and others? Because it was in the Mirror as well. It was in the Telegraph, all over.
Was in the Telegraph?
I'm not
I,
sure.
I don't trust the Mail, but
The Mail and the Mirror, most definitely. I got it there. And then there are the others who just piggyback on of them.
yeah, well, I
What
don't
are
know.
your What are your thoughts?
I don't know what the source is, but
Yes.
I think perhaps there is some truth in that. If you look at it logically,
Yes.
is like I said in my opening statement, what player would not want to play in the Champions League?
Correct.
And that's why it was such a letdown that we were not able to hold on to that position, right?
Mm-hmm.
To the top four position that we occupied for quite some time.
Yeah.
It's going to take a lot for Arsenal to convince Gabriel Jesus to choose, for example, and if we're to believe the rumors, to choose Arsenal over Tottenham or Chelsea. And I would say more likely Chelsea, because they are in the Champions League. They've got a good manager as well, and they've got they're still figuring out their attack.
Mm-hmm.
And he could see himself, being the new face of the attack, since Lukaku hasn't really worked out, and it doesn't look like Lukaku will work out for them. So you never know. I would say that the odds of us signing Jesus drastically reduced when we missed out on top four. And
Right.
it's just the bare fact. It's not about agenda. It's just the bare fact. A player of that caliber, of coming from that club, would want to play in the Champions League. And in order for us to attract him, we either have to go above and beyond on the salary side, or and the maybe sign on bonus side, which could sway his decision making. But aside from that, I would imagine that if any Champions League side shows an interest in him, I believe he will prioritize them over Arsenal.
Well, and I think that something that struck me as well, that nobody speaks about, and I don't know why people won't. He is a Brazilian international. I didn't even know he has had nearly 50 appearances for Brazil. He's been
Oh
playing
yeah.
as a kid, and he was there in the Confederations Cup, and he played friendlies for them this year. And he must be absolutely set on going to Qatar. And would Arsenal coming to Arsenal enhance his chances of going to Qatar?
No, I don't think coming to Arsenal is going to hurt his chances at all.
Uh-huh.
Not at all. I think, um, the only thing that hurts players' chances of, going to World Cup is, do they have a starting berth at their
Mhm.
clubs? 100%. Jesus comes to Arsenal, he's going to be starting every week
Uh-huh.
in, week out, right? And I believe also that he's generated enough appearances within the Brazil, and is more established within the Brazilian team, that it's going to take a lot to drop him, right? Maybe it's a horrible loss of form that's
Mhm.
going to get him out of the team. But I think he's well established international, and if he's available, he will play. He will
I
be called up.
Good point. Good point.
Yes.
But you and I have seen, as I said earlier, a lot of strikers dangled in front of Arsenal, and their club just, put them up for like a Dutch auction, and then just dangle them and they just pull them away at the last minute. You remember, like when Van Persie left, and then we did Napoli was hawking Higuain. He was going between us and Real Madrid.
No, he was at Real Madrid and he was leaving Real Madrid.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's why I have
So he
here.
ended up in Napoli.
There
So
you go.
he basically got on the plane
Yeah.
to Arsenal, and then we were waiting for him, waiting for us to get the news that he was attending the medical in London Coney, and then the next thing we heard, hey, Higuain has signed for Napoli, and I was like, huh, what's going on here?
And
it was
they had
it was
qualified for the
traumatic for
Champions
me
League.
personally, and ever since then I try not to get too attached to players who are not yet Arsenal, um, who are not yet wearing our shirt, basically. So whoever the club announces is welcome, but I don't go chasing after and watching YouTube videos and doing all that stuff before we sign them.
The reason why I raise this is that a lot of fans, that was like in 2012, Byso, 10 years ago, or something like that.
2012, 2013, I think it's 20. Yeah, I think it's 2013 because Giroud came in 2012, right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, Byso, sometimes I wonder, like we think that you're like a newbie to football, but you have a memory of these things. But you make an important point, and that's something that a lot of us used to say back in the day, but we don't seem to say it enough these days. Don't worry until late July. Don't worry until the window is about to close. And the reason why I said the chase for Gabriel Jesus is that it's never usually the first player that you see the agents put up on the auction block. It's somebody that comes as a complete surprise. Now, isn't that our experience? Share that with the fans, because it seems as if everybody's memories are short. But
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. If you're a veteran Arsenal fan, you should know that, you know, getting transfer, I would say palpitations in June is just a waste, right? We do
right,
our business much late in the window. And I think, a lot of that has got to do with, negotiations and, us trying to get the best deal possible because we don't have money or we didn't used to have money. So now I guess we do have money. So maybe it will be easier. Um, but I understand why this Jesus one is dragging because the lack of Champions League is a huge decision for the player,
yeah.
and he's got to explore his options. And I think what he's doing right now is exploring his options. And if those don't pan out, then he'll probably sign for Arsenal.
Well, but there should be a lot of takers for him. And you touch on something there. I am so reminded of those people who told fans for a long time that top four is not a title, that Champions League doesn't really matter. You know? And maybe you want to say something about that. They took that for years to whip Wenger.
Yeah,
And now, like 3, 4 years after his departure, we're obsessed with Champions League. And
and
not,
I guess you
and we,
never. Sorry, I'm just saying. As in, this thought just came into my mind. I guess you never know what you have until you've lost it, right? And for us, it just seemed, you know, You know when a plane is what's that thing when the plane is trying to land,
Yes.
but maybe the lanes are busy and then it just keeps circling around the airport, just circling around trying to wait for his turn. And
Right.
I think for us, top four felt like that. We're just circling around. No, we're not taking off, we're not landing, we're just circling around. And I think a lot of people got bored with that. They wanted to have some excitement, whether it's the um excitement of winning a trophy or the excitement of challenging
Win-
for the league,
or
right?
winning Champions League.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Challenging for the trophy, a trophy, or you know, but for us, it's top four. Just okay, we're just there because we knew we're not good enough to compete for trophies. We're not good enough to compete for Champions League title, but we were still in and around that top four. And I, I kind of understand why people got bored with that, and now we've lost it. We've lost that status, and we're like, oh my goodness, we find ourselves in the bush, and we're like, oh, we need to make our way back to civilization, right? And that's where we are now, and that's why top four. Initially, we're like, oh my goodness, top four is not a trophy, and for us now is the absolute, like, we would kill for top four.
Well, I
We've seen what it's like out in the wilderness, and we don't want to be there anymore, right?
absolutely. And like you said, you in 2012, 13, stop obsessing over transfers. There's a point in which you grow. There's a point now, like it's like, men often play around, and then there's a point in which you grow up. It's that's not I
Yeah,
going to.
you're right. You're right. There's some point you just be like, ugh, I need
This
to
is good.
just
This is good. Let
move
me,
on from speculating. And but the young ones, I understand their enthusiasm. I understand why you get so excited about a player. I guess maybe it's when they get to the point where it's no longer it feels that exciting, you just want to get excited about Arsenal players alone. Then maybe they'll be where we are right now. But I understand the excitement of the transfer market for sure.
well, this transfer market is important for us. Like I said,
Absolutely.
and we all know this. We brought the squad down to 21 players. It was, it was flesh and bone. It was bones of flesh and bones, no fat. Which got FC became the mantra, and it cost us actually because we had no reserves when it really mattered.
Yep.
Um, Tamiyasu went down injured, Kieran Tierney, that was inevitable, and we didn't have the backups of the quality. I don't share, by the way, people, I don't share the view that Partey's injury was really that inimical to us. El Neni came in and he had 2 assists for I think his 9 appearances. And for all the appearances that Partey had, he had 2 goals and 1 assist. And then, so, I think that it was the Tamiyasu and the Kieran Tierney injuries that cost us a lot. But we really need reinforcements. Byso, we are not, and I certainly am not one of those people who know all the strikers around Europe that we're in for. But we it's possible that we could get less, not possible, very probable that we could get lesser quality than Gabriel Jesus, don't you think?
I think it depends on how good the scouting is,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Um, I'm not sure what network they have in place right now because I know that over after the COVID or during COVID, they let go of the scouting network. And then we heard they were hiring. We don't have the details of who has been hired and how good they are, and how they're using the stat DNA to basically shortlist a list of players. But what Arsenal needs is a buy that everyone will be like, whoa, where did that come from? When Haaland burst on the scene and just started scoring, that those are the types of players that we need. I don't know that we will be able to go for the players who are well known in the market today because they're going to cost 80 plus, and I'm not sure that we have the budget for that. And I think this is why we're kind of trying to go for Jesus, because he's going to be more in a economic bracket, I would say, and he could give us, those goals. But I think my personal opinion about Jesus is one of skepticism about his potential effect on Arsenal as a whole. I've never seen him as a very effective type of striker.
Central striker.
Yes, I don't think. I mean, he's a good facilitator, and he's a good team player. But in terms of like being in front of goal and scoring those goals, um, I don't see it, because look at his return in Man City.
Well, he
It's
had 8 goals and 9 assists last year, but I was looking at
Well,
his.
four of those goals came in one game.
Yes, yeah, yes, yes.
So you have to apply that context, right? Four
Yeah.
of those goals came in one game. And a lot of times, he gets to play in, I think even before even when Aguero was there,
Yes.
Aguero would be the starter. I think when Pep first came in, Jesus was the starter, and then he just found out that Jesus could not deliver those numbers he needed, and he
Yes.
went back to Aguero as his number one striker, and Jesus would either play on the wings or start in like the FA Cup games and the smaller games, for Man City, and that was the role he occupied for most of his Man City career. Because I mean, how do you have a striker and then you play a system that doesn't use a striker?
Mhm.
You get what I mean?
Right.
So even with no striker, he was the backup striker. So
Right. No, and it was a good backup to have. I mean,
now
Aguero was.
he's a fantastic backup to have
Yeah.
for sure. I'm not saying he's not a good player. I don't know if he's got um that in him to take Arsenal, because what we need at Arsenal is someone who's going to come in and raise the level of the entire squad, to much, much higher than it is, right? And it could be, I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't see him as that type of player.
If you follow me on Twitter, you know, and even the podcast I post, my concern is that the signings haven't raised our level that much. That has been my
So far,
concern
yes.
because we've spent like, I mean, on our Tata alone, we spent 250 million pounds, and I'm not sure. I know that there's arguments saying that it is for the future. I know a lot of people are saying that, and I'm not going to deny that. But you don't spend 150 million pounds and don't expect an immediate uplift in quality. And that is what you're talking about. You're going in the Champions League as a different level altogether. Not the Champions League, even the European League. You're going to be competing in two competitions. You can't go in there and die in the first round. I mean, that's not Arsenal, don't you think?
Okay, so let me address the first part of your question, which
Yeah.
is, saying that the transfer ins have not really had much of an effect. It's like you're trying to fill a basket with water. You're
Right.
pouring in and you're leaking from below, right? So no matter what you do, it's hard for you to raise the level of the water in that leaking container. Let's not talk about basket, maybe like a boat that has a hole in it, right? You're
Right.
filling it in and the water keeps going out. And why do I say the water keeps going out? We're having such a high turnover
Yes.
of players who were in the squad, and moving out. And so they're not coming in to enhance, they're coming in to replace. So it's hard for you to, kind of build on top of that when we have such a high turnover. So we need to find a way to stabilize, our transfers in and out in such a way that, the level is getting raised, as opposed to dropping that level so low by transferring almost everyone out and then, bringing those guys in. Because at the end of the day, you're going to need backup. Like you said, we didn't have good enough backup for the guys who are injury prone and all of that.
Mhm.
And it will cost you at some point. So we have to kind of like find that delicate balance in moving people out and bringing in new people that can raise the performance level of the team. Um, and you know what? I've forgotten the second part of the question.
No, no, it was something. It all had to do with, and I even kind of forgot, but it all has to do with raising the level. If but anyway, let's not even dwell on that. Uh, that's one of the additional concerns I have. If we're not going to get the Gabriel Jesus of this world, will the Dominic Calvert-Lewins, will the Ivan Tonys, will that work for us? You were talking about somebody has to immediately
Oh
raise the.
yeah, so we're talking. The second part question was about raising the level for Europa League,
Yes, correct.
and for me, Europa League does not really need, like, the team we have today can actually fully compete in the Europa League and even potentially win it. The problem with Europa League is the schedule, the destinations you have to travel to. It's just such a strain on the team that it's really difficult to manage. And sometimes you have to kind of go into such a season with almost two squads. One
Yeah,
squad for Europa League and then the other squad for the Premier League.
right.
Don't forget that West Ham really, really suffered as a result of their participation in the Europa League. Like,
Mhm.
they literally did not win a game after every Europa League week,
Yeah,
the Premier League. So it's
literally.
really, yeah, literally. So
Mhm.
it's really difficult, for us to manage. And if Arsenal wants to be really smart, they have to. I mean, we've taken the squad numbers so low, and
Mhm.
now with Europa League, we have to kind of go in the opposite direction again. Getting
Mhm.
a bunch of players that can fill in at the Europa League level and still not drop the performance
Mhm.
too low that we can't make it out of the group or make it out of you know the first stages of the knockout stage of the Europa League. So it's going to be a very difficult season. And this window, like you said in the beginning, is really, really important. What we do in this window is going to shape Arsenal Football Club for the next 5 years, I believe.
Well, I'm quoting the great Blackburn George because he's saying that this is the biggest window. But what do you think of us going? I don't want you to escape from this because it is. I don't. It is possible. In fact, perhaps more likely than not, that we'll have to go to the second level. Dominic Calvert-Lewins, the Ivan Tonys. There are all kinds of names from Europe, but they are all like very expensive. What you think that will work for us?
And it definitely will improve us because right now we don't have any striker, right? So anyone is going to be an improvement for
Yes.
sure. Ivan Tony is a really interesting prospect. I think he can give you what we were asking Lacazette to do, but maybe even better than Lacazette did.
Yeah.
Um,
A
he
header of the
may
ball.
not he may not
A header.
score.
He will be a header of the ball in excess. I'm touching my head, but he
Yeah,
definitely better use of his head than
yeah,
Lacazette.
yeah. And given that we're so good at set pieces, and I think that's the one thing that was really excellent from Arsenal last season. It was our set pieces,
Yeah.
and Tony can take advantage of that, and so can Dominic. But if it was going to be a straight, like, comparison between you know Dominic and Tony, to be honest, I'm not sure which one of them
Yeah.
would be better for Arsenal. I think both of them have good all-round play. I would give all-round play to Tony, and I think Dominic is slightly better in the air.
Yeah.
So
Well, I only raise this because I there's a certain big blogger there's certain people who are like, this is not gonna happen. But when you only I don't know how much we get willing to spend, but nobody wants to talk about this. But there's an economic crisis in Europe, an economic crisis in England. The TV money is there, but how much disposable income our fans have? All of these are issues that I don't know if a club is going to want to go out to the edge of the parapet and take massive financial risk, and nobody wants to talk about it, Byso. And it kinds of concern me too.
Uh, you know what? Funny you bring this up because I almost tweeted it the other day and I was like, there's financial issues all over the world, but the football clubs that don't seem to feel it, right? They're still spending
Yes.
as much as they want. You know, transfer fees like Trameni went to Real Madrid for 80 million plus
Yeah.
add-ons,
Yeah.
and this is a player who's literally had maybe half a season of really good football.
Yes.
And so it begs the question, where are we going to with transfer fees in football? It's not. I don't think it's slowing down. COVID, that I thought would have an effect on transfer fees, did not have that effect. Everything is still high. But with respect to effect on the fans, I believe the Premier League has frozen the away match tickets for the next 3 years, and
Okay.
so that's good.
Mhm.
The fans, the match going fans who go to the away games, don't have to worry about hiking prices.
Yes.
But the home ones, that remains to be seen if Kroenkes decide to shift some of that financial burden on the match going fans by increasing the ticket pricing. I don't know that they will do that now. I think they will wait until perhaps we make it back into the Champions League, and then they will hike the ticket prices at Emirates. But I
Yeah.
don't see that happening. So yes, there's a crisis, there's inflation, but I don't believe that that would affect the value of the tickets for now. I think they're holding steady. But yes, the fans will definitely feel the pinch a bit more because whatever they're earning is buying a little bit less due to the inflation, right? So,
Yes. But you and I were talking about
well,
you and I. Sorry to cut you, but you
well,
and I before the
yeah.
stream started, we're talking about how we ourselves are have to be thinking of making choices.
Oh,
Between
definitely.
our direct satellite broadcasting systems or our cable provider, and then all the streamers who are taking money from us and raising them because they think that if we are hooked to our football, and then we have to thinking about whether we want to take two channels or one channel. And I see my English friends telling me, well, I have had to give up on Sky or BT, because of the cost. Um,
Yep.
well, I just said I raised this because I just don't hear people mentioning this. Your final thoughts, though, as you look forward to the rest of the window. I mean, I don't want to drag this on. We're just speculating, commenting on what is happening. But your final
Yeah.
thoughts, what you expect going forward. I saw you rebuke some guy as if he's a transfer virgin on Twitter this morning.
No, because why are you getting angry in June? This is Arsenal Football Club, for Christ's sakes. Like,
Yes,
we do our transfers in August and the last, on deadline day, right?
yes, right.
So until August, I don't think is time to hit the panic button yet. And I think that's why I responded to the guy in that way. But what do I expect from this transfer market? To be honest, not a whole lot.
Mm,
We keep talking about spending 250 million on transfers,
yes,
but we have not talked about what it cost for us to get rid of players. That's also a cost to
yes.
Arsenal Football Club.
Mhm.
And I don't trust that the Kroenkes will sink as much money as they did last summer, this summer. And so, what did you spend last summer? 100 and what?
50 something million
150,
pounds.
right?
It was 100
Okay.
like 53 million, I think, at the end.
I don't think we're going to get more than 100 million.
We got 20 something million back for Joe Willock, by the way. That was the biggest return.
So I don't think we're going to get. And then we've gotten 8 million pounds, right, for Guendouzi from.
Christ. Don't even start me up on that. And I know that was never a big Wenduzi favorite. But when somebody like Mesut Ozil says he's the best talent, and then you're seeing him, you know, perform week in, I mean, that's a club. That's a failure of management. Poor me can say any shit about Guendouzi. Anyway,
Yeah, I mean, it's
that-
it's an unfortunate situation, right? But you know, I don't think our budget is going to be that big, so we have to be very smart in the transfer window. Um, I'm hearing things about getting a left back, and we've just gotten a left back last season, and now we're talking about getting another left back. I mean, these are things that a club with strict budgets should not be having. We should, at least when you bring in a player, have them on your books for at least 3 years. Know that they can produce and provide something for you for the next 3 years at the minimum.
Mhm.
We've had how many players who have come in and the next season they're out. You have Willian, you have that goalkeeper,
Ron Arson,
Runner Singh,
Murray,
coming one season, out the next season. Mary coming one season, out the next season.
the
We can
boy, the American dude, the American dude. What does that mean? The goalie we signed.
No, he's not coming yet, right? And
Yeah.
he could prove to. American goalkeepers, tend to
No,
be
I'm not
okay.
disparaging him,
So
but
we
I
don't
don't know
know
where he
what
is.
he's gonna be. If we don't know what his level is, he could prove to be an able backup. I mean, we're in the Europa, so
Mm.
I'm sure, barring injuries, our goalkeeper Ramsdale should be able to play in all of the Premier League games. So we should be fine on that front. Um, I just feel like we need to be smarter in the market. We can't keep signing players and getting rid of them the very next season.
And pay their wages.
Yeah, it's not a sustainable way of operating, and it has to stop. But on the transfer this year, I don't think we're going to get more than 100 million, maybe 80. I would say that we'll be allowed to spend, and perhaps spend everything we're getting back in for selling the players, right? So like the 8 million that we got for Guendouzi, the 3 million we got for um, this defender that's gone to Germany.
Chambers.
No,
Who's that?
Mavropanos.
Oh, Mavropanos. Yes, he's gone to
Yes.
the. Yeah.
The 3 million we've got from him. Maybe we can spend what we're making by selling players. But in terms of like pure cash coming from the Kroenkes, I don't think we'll get as much as we did last season, which would be a problem because we need more.
Well, I'm Byso. The first graphic from the Mail, they're already blaming the Cronkies. Already being set up. The Cronkies are the ones who are being blamed. The game is being played already. The media, the agents are whispering. The Mail doesn't do that. That was all part of the headline, by the way, guys. You have to decode. That was part of. They didn't want you to miss that. Just like how they don't want, they know you're only going to read the headline, and some of us are going to read the rest of the story. They want you to know that's the Cronkies to blame. Watch out for that. Thank you very much, Byso. You have been very good. I hope to have
Thank
you
you.
again. All righty. And thanks, listeners. Remember to like and subscribe. Remember, especially to like our videos, and we grow our subscription. We trying to be factual, trying to give you the benefit of our experience, even Byso's experience, which surprisingly goes a way back. Surprise! I won't tell anybody. All right, guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for helping the Positively Uncensored Arsenal podcast. Bye.
Bye.